Hi there, this is Megan from the gluten-free-vegan.com, and I'm just going to share with you a super quick video talking about working with dried beans. Just a couple of tips I have if you are using dried beans in your cooking. Using dried beans is actually quite economical. They cost a little bit less than canned beans, and for what you get, you can actually, it goes a long way. So I've kind of started using dried beans more in my cooking, and so I thought I'd pass on some of the tips that I found that work. First of all, what I do when I'm working with dried beans is I make sure to rinse them really well in a sieve and pick through the beans, because sometimes there's some that are really dry, like shriveled up, gross looking. Sometimes just the nature of the way that they're harvested, they you can find little pebbles or stones and stuff in with your beans, and those don't get soft when they get cooked. So that's really important to look for anything like that. So that's about it for kind of cleaning them. I give them a rinse, and like I said, I pick through them. Something important to keep in mind as far as quantity of beans to use. Dried beans cook up to quite a lot more. So 1 cup of dried beans can usually cook up to about 2.5 to 3 cups of beans when it's all fully cooked. So make sure that when you're looking at your recipe, if the recipe calls for say a cup of canned or cooked beans, or canned beans I suppose, you can do your math and try and figure out how much dried beans to use so that you're not stuck with a whole lot of extra cooked beans than your recipe calls for. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. I have here about 1/2 cup of dried chickpeas and 1/2 cup of small white beans. And so when you are using dried beans, you also want to make sure that you take some time to soak them. You can soak them for about 6 hours or overnight, and then they'll get soft enough so that when you go to cook them in your recipe, they're not too starchy or too tough by the time everything else in your recipe is cooked. When you soak them, you want to use about 3 times the amount of water. So you just can, in a bowl like this, have your beans and then just pour some water in. Having 3 times the amount of water is good, because as the beans start to soak up some of that moisture, they will expand, and then this still gives a lot of water so that they stay covered as they are soaking for those 6 hours or overnight. And lastly, there is another method for soaking your beans that actually accelerates the soaking time. It's what I like to call the parboiling method, and if you just hang tight, I'll show you quickly how that's done. So here in my saucepan, I have about 1 cup of dried beans. I've got a mix again of chickpeas and small white beans, and 3 times the amount of water to cover. I've got the heat on medium, and we're going to wait for the water here just to come to a gentle boil, and then we simply just remove it from the heat, cover it, and let these beans sit for about 1 to 2 hours, and then they're ready to use in our recipe. Okay, there you have it. There's my quick little video that I hope was actually quick about working with dried beans in your recipes. If you have any questions, you can always drop me a line on my website at www.theglutenfreevegan.com. I hope you have an excellent day. Bye.